So word on the street is that you guys have been talking about evolution, right? So what kinds of things have you guys been using to think about evolution, and maybe can I talk about some relationships between different species? Yeah. Natural selection, all right, so maybe that's a process by which that happens. Okay. What else? Cladogram. What is that? Tell me about that. Okay, all right, so this idea of a cladogram, how do we determine where the different species go? Amino acid sequences. All right, so what? How did you do that? Give me some more information. Okay, all right, so if we maybe make some comparisons, right, across different species, in this case maybe using amino acids, we can make some inferences about what may or may not be closely related to each other, okay? So we're gonna kind of continue that same process in this activity. We're not gonna be using amino acids, right? We're gonna be using a different set of observations and data to help us kind of make those inferences, all right? So this is the lab that we're going to be working on for the next couple of days. All right, if you want to go ahead and turn to the right spot in your lab notebooks there. So you'll notice as you're doing that, there's a picture of some different skeletons there. Right? That gives you a little bit of a clue what we're going to be using to make our inferences and figure out some relationships in this ADI. Right? So our big question here, the guiding question for this activity is how are hominids related? All right, so let's go ahead and read through the introduction. Somebody volunteer to read that first paragraph one? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Introduction, modern understanding of human.
All right, so there's a couple important things in that very first paragraph. All right, what kinds of things do you think we're going to be looking at to make our comparisons this time instead of amino acids? Fossils, okay? So we're going to be looking at actual bones. If you look on the lab tables there, we have some skulls. Those are actually replica skulls, all right? So we're going to be using those to make some comparisons about these relationships, all right? It also says here in the first paragraph that there are some different factors that may have contributed to how these early ancestors may have changed and been related. What might some of those factors be?
Just natural barriers.
Okay, so maybe just physically where they're located in the world, absolutely. Okay, all right, so their specific habitat maybe, or kind of the environmental features from where they are, all right, that could influence things, all right. Another important one is climate, right, so kind of related to where you're living, right, the different conditions that you're faced with, okay, so those are factors that could contribute to what's happened. All right, somebody like to volunteer and continue on to the next paragraph.
Social activities.
All right, so those are some key features that separate hominids from other groups of animals there. One that may not be terribly evident, the bipedal locomotion. What does that mean? Walking on two legs, right? Like we normally do. Okay, do you guys think of any other mammals, any other animals that walk on two legs? All right, they're monkeys, right? Monkeys fit in the same group, right? They're on legs. Meerkats. Meerkats. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I know they have four legs, right? But we tend to see them kind of reared back on two.
Meerkats?
Right? Yeah, so I don't know that that's their primary means of locomotion, right? But they may just be capable of standing up. My dog can stand up like that too, so he doesn't walk around the house like that. All right, so those are just some different things, different ways that we can think about, right, that distinguish hominids. All right, so let's move on to the third paragraph. Yes, sir. So this is going to be something here that's very useful coming up once we start making our comparisons, right? If we think in big picture by the end of this, we need to have an argument, right? Okay, so what do you think this phylogenetic tree is going to serve as? What piece of the argument? It's going to be the evidence, right? So you guys were telling me earlier about these cladographs that you generated, right? As a kind of general shape, like that, right? So we have those different branches coming off based on how things are related. Okay, a phylogenetic tree serves the same purpose, right? It just has a slightly different shape. Okay, so instead of being the one diagonal with the branches coming off, this one will start with a common ancestor, and then it branches off based on different characteristics. Right? And if we have different changes, right, we end up with something that kind of looks like that. Right? So it serves the same purpose. We have a common ancestor, something happens, we get some species over here, some other species, and then maybe there's another branch further down the road. Okay? Now, when it came to your cladogram, how could you tell if something was more or less related to another species?
The amount of similarities in the amino acid chains.
Okay? All right. So in terms also of the cladogram, right, and just its structure, how did you know? Okay, so how close or how far away, right? So how close these lines are to each other. Okay? So it's a similar kind of thing when it comes to the phylogenetic tree, right? Based on the way that it's branching and which ones are getting clustered together. All right? All right. So that's going to be the evidence that you use to help make your claim, to make your argument, how closely these hominids are related. All right? So I just kind of gave you the guiding question, how are hominids related? All right, so you're going to be tasked with answering that question. I want us to think about how we might do that. All right. If we're looking at these two skulls, right, these are two different hominids, right, what's maybe a characteristic that's pretty different about these skulls? Okay, jaw shape I heard, teeth I heard, right, okay, eyes are fairly different, right? If we look kind of at the backside and the top, okay, maybe kind of rounded, flatted, you said something about pointy. What were you referring to? Things that are very different, right? So making those comparisons will help us to figure out where things go on our tree, okay? So we're gonna have to try and figure that out. Okay. If you keep going, there's lots of information, right? There's a sample phylogenetic tree there for some different species, right? There's some information about each of the different skulls and where they're found, right? So we had that geography might have something to do with how they're related. Okay, so you have all that information there available to you. All right, the chart is already nicely formatted for you. It has all of the different hominids over on one side, and it has all of the different features that we're interested in measuring for each one. Okay, you'll also notice that there are some highlights there. Okay, so not every group is going to do every skull. You will have all of the information by the very end. Okay, so your group is going to be responsible for whichever skulls are highlighted. By the end of today, if not by tomorrow for sure, our goal is to get this entire chart filled in and up here so that everyone has all the data for all the skulls.